Grace is with us in Chicago. Hi, Grace. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi.
Hi. What's up in your world?
Well, I've got a problem with, well, it's not my problem. My son is going with a girl. He's living with a girl right now, and they want to buy a house together. And I already have a problem with them living together. And I know I've heard you say things about the financial problems that could come up if unmarried couples get a mortgage together. And I was just wondering if you could explain those to me. Maybe I can convince him that way that this might not be a good idea without getting married first.
I completely agree with you. It's a disaster to buy a home with someone that you're not married to. It's an absolute disaster because you have no legal control over the process if this doesn't work out. And so basically what you're doing is, from a legal standpoint, you're forming a general partnership. And so if she leaves, he's stuck with the whole thing. Oh, by the way, he can't sell it because he doesn't own it by himself. So if she just takes off to Alaska or wherever, which happens all the time in these situations, then he can't sell the house to get out of the mortgage that he is on because he's not the only owner. You have to have the other owner's signature. And so you would have to put together, the only reasonable legal way to put it together would be a detailed, in-depth partnership agreement from a legal standpoint that says what happens if you break up. It says what happens if someone dies. It says what happens if someone becomes disabled. It says what happens, because all of those things are handled if you happen to be married. That's that's all kind of pretty much handled then. At least there's a mechanism if everything falls apart called divorce, which would be sad, and we certainly don't want to plan for that, but at least you've got that to figure out how a judge can then, determine the assets and how they're broken up and so forth. The other way is just, it never works. So, I would just beg people that are living together to not buy a house together. I have never run into a situation where it works out good. It always ends up being the end of a bad story. And it's always complicated. It's bad enough to get your heart broken. It's bad enough to go through a relationship like that and then have a split. It's bad enough to go through a relationship like that and then have some sad thing happen like disability or death. But that's all bad enough. But add to that a house in the middle of it that you're stuck in. Oh, it just makes the whole thing really nasty. Please don't let them do this.
I hope I can convince them, but, they're in love, and I know it'll be difficult
this ain't got anything to do with
for
love.
them to even think of a separation later on.
Yeah, I'm not even questioning love. That's not the question. The question is stupid. And this is just, let's pretend they weren't in love. It was two buddies wanting to buy a house together. Don't do it. I'm going to buy a roommate. I'm going to buy a house with my roommate. No. Bad idea. Really, really, really bad idea. Well, isn't home ownership a good thing? No. Home ownership is a curse if you do it wrong. And this is one of the definitions of wrong. So I think the challenge you might have is you've probably already said enough about them living together, right?
Yes.
And so you probably have lost some of your influence in the conversation. Because this is what I'm dealing with here is not just, the moral aspect I agree with you on, and that's the side issue, but there's a legal and financial and structural disaster here. This is not, you can't act like you're married when you're not in the legal world. It just doesn't work out for you. Hey, you don't even buy a dog together, because the poor dog ends up in a problem. Man, bad. So I think, if you somehow in the discussion can separate this from just the legal and the transactional mess that this is going to represent, and separate that from the moral discussion of living together, maybe you can speak into this situation. But you may have been like me. You may have already said so much you don't have the right anymore because they're not listening to anything you say anymore. That could have happened. I sure hope you can talk them out of it, though.